Persona 5 spin-offs. Can't live with them, can't have Atlus know that there should probably be a purpose behind them. You may know, or you may not know, whatever. I do have some issues with Persona 5 spin-offs. I'm not wholly against them, and I don't mind Atlus milking their most popular existing IP, but if they're not going to add anything to the existing canon, or the existing timeline, then what's the point? As soon as Tactica was shown to be in between the time before Joker leaves for home and when he comes out of juvenile detention, I figured this was going to be another canon but not canon spin-off. I wrote it off pretty much saying that at least I have Super Mario RPG to play instead. But of course I wound up picking up Tactica because that was always going to happen regardless. And it thoroughly surprised me.
What do you think? Does it suit me? Does it suit me?
And I guess we'll start with the criticisms. Let's rip off the band-aid here. Tactica is Persona's first ever SRPG. And while sometimes a team can pull out something amazing, more often than not, the first attempt is not always a perfect pearl. Tactica is easy. After reading that 4Gamer interview, it's kind of no surprise that it turned out this way, but SRPGs are an intimidating genre. There's still this kind of stigma that these games are difficult, require lots of planning, and therefore take a very long time. Tactica clearly aims to break down that wall a lot, and the difficulty is very reminiscent of Persona 5. What I mean by that is P5's overall difficulty is low. If you at least spend a few minutes using the fusion system and understanding the basic mechanics, so as long as you do the basic functions of playing the game and knowing the consequence of each action, the game will work with you to make the experience smooth. And Tactica mimics this, whether intentional or not. Overall, I'd say normal feels like easy. It's not that the game is boringly easy, there are still moments, like the beat every opponent in one turn missions, that make you sit and think a bit. But I imagine most experienced SRPG players won't need that much thought to complete anything else otherwise. The low bar for difficulty is probably my only big negative point towards this game. It feels kind of intentional by design, but also, I've never had a situation in Tactica where my characters went below 50% health. It happened once, and that's because I purposely put a character in a bad position. I think Tactica is a good gateway SRPG. If you liked Persona 5, then you'll probably like this game in some capacity. If you like really casual SRPGs, like maybe Fire Emblem on casual normal difficulty, then you might like this. But I think when SRPG fans said they wanted a Persona Tactics game, they might have been looking for something a bit more challenging. Otherwise, though, the game is surprisingly satisfying for what it offers.
An eel?
I'm not an eel either! What's wrong with your eyes?
As I've said before in previous videos, Atlus and P Studios are masters of UI design. The overall UI for this game is thematic and eye-catching. It's the kind of visual clutter that I can actually appreciate. But what truly is the make or break moment for Tactica as a P5 spin-off is how well it can maintain that original style of Persona 5, while also being a little bit unique. For one, there's a simple color change on the UI of the basic usual white to this cream color in the menus. It's not much, but it definitely gives kind of like this olderish vibe. I think it's supposed to mimic some revolutionary graphics in the past, but it's definitely purposeful, regardless of whether it is mimicking that or not, which I'm pretty sure it is, Now as for other visual style, I think Tactica's kind of chibis with big hand models actually look pretty good in motion. When I was playing the game and when the characters were moving a lot in cutscenes, I was never particularly bothered. But I also think the sprites look a lot better than the models themselves. However, when things slow down, the models can look goofy. There are moments where this new art style definitely enhances the game, and there are moments where it acts in its detriment. It's all subjective, but I still vastly would have preferred the original style. Overall, it has grown on me a bit, because honestly I'm a lot more okay with it now. But yes, I would have still liked Tactica to maintain the original style of P5. I don't hate it anymore, but I can't argue with how I feel. Also, this isn't really important, but I think it's very funny that they abbreviate Velvet Room to Vroom.
Watch how it's done.
Hello there. My name is Toshiro Kasukabe.
First, we should sit down and discuss.
Silence! Unless you prefer beheading!
And there you have it, folks.
The gameplay of Tactica is reminiscent of XCOM, probably. I've never played it. The general idea is similar to Persona 5. You want to knock down enemies, hit them with an all-out attack, do a big AoE, and kill them all. Enemies can hide behind cover like you, and they can, generally use the same systems as you, but if you hit them with anything other than a gun attack while they're in cover, it leaves them vulnerable to be downed. Once you do that, you can align your allies and make a triangle and do a massive AoE. Pretty basic. There are enemies that react differently to being attacked. However, there are also barely more than 4 variants of enemy. This, to me, is the boon and bane of Tactica's existence. The issue is that it doesn't assist in making the game harder. Having only 4 enemy variants means you're always going to know what you're going to be facing, you're going to know how to deal with each of those variants, and it's not going to challenge you very much. Now, how this is a boon is that for intro players, this is probably a good thing. If you've never played an SRPG before, or you just aren't that good at them, then you'll always know what to expect. If I'm honest, though, a lot of it doesn't really matter. This extends to the status effects as well. Enemies no longer have elemental weaknesses. Instead, each element is designed around some basic form of CC, or crowd control. Wind knocks back, electric shocks, fire burns, ice freezes, and so on and so forth. This kind of means that certain characters are probably going to be better than others. To me, burn doesn't really do much for me because I barely need the extra damage. Meanwhile, Morgana served as one of the most important members of my team, with his ability to knock away enemies without having to be in melee range. Makoto wound up probably being my least used party member, because nuclear damage has a vortex sucking effect that only works in AoE situations, which I never found myself needing because I could just kill the enemies instead. There are tons of ways to down your opponents, which keeps variety up, but it also makes positioning kind of important. You can also reposition your characters so as long as they don't take an action that turn. So until the character takes an action, they can still move around, meaning you can position them for follow-up attacks, which allows you to get a little more creative with your board. There's also the special skills that use your voltage meter. These skills have special effects like downing enemies instantly, creating decoys, and long-range damage. The issue is that it feels like due to the low difficulty, once again, despite how cool some of these are, you probably won't even need to use them. I often forgot they even existed for the most part. And that's Tactica in a nutshell. There's so many little things that you can change, but you're never really going to feel the need to do it. Tons of my characters never really got upgraded weapons before the last few stages of the game, because the real thing I needed was just to do triple threats. The damage from the gun was negligible until the near end. And you know what, that goes for Velvet Room fusions as well. Obviously, we're not having a Persona game without fusions and multiple personas. Tactica takes the system from PQ, where each character now has a sub-persona instead of Joker being able to use multiple personas. But the thing is that sub-personas are more for the stats and passives than anything else. Yeah, you could give someone a wind skill so they can sweep, but why would I do that when I can just optimize passives for SP restoration and additional damage? Overall, I never really felt like I needed to think too hard about fusions. I just fused whatever could get the consecutive gun bonus damage passives and slapped them onto units. And you know what? I still genuinely enjoyed my time with Tactica's gameplay. I found it to be pretty simple and easy, but still satisfying. Though I'd argue that those side quests, where you have to blast through a group of enemies in one turn, really do showcase the game's systems at its best, and are an absolute blast to complete. But again, if you're looking for any sort of challenge at all, Tactica is almost probably never going to push you to your limit.
In the past half hour alone, I've witnessed 10 incidents where the laws of physics were outright defied. No, actually, it's 11 if you count... Oh, then there was...
Now, I was pretty hard on P5T pre-release, since I saw that it took place before Strikers, and also before the ending of P5R, which ultimately would mean the game is more likely than not a memory wipe, so they don't have to fill the gap of why didn't we mention character X or Y or events Y and Z in the latest version of the game. P5T's story itself is honestly pretty good. If we're looking at the timeline, I said before, it takes place between the 15th of February and the 20th of March. The Phantom Thieves are magically transported to this new world where a tyrant reigns supreme. These worlds are called kingdoms, and each one you go through has a similar formula. it's Tyrant versus the Revolutionaries, and you play the Revolutionaries. Hence why a lot of the UI imagery probably takes inspiration from revolutionary stuff. In the first kingdom, you meet Irina, a girl with mysterious powers who appears to be from this world. You also become acquainted with a politician named Toshiro Kasukabe, who has amnesia, and is rescued by the Phantom Thieves. To not spoil much, these two are pretty much the main mysteries of the story, and uncovering their secrets is the story to this game. And I genuinely enjoyed this. Once again, Atlus has managed to create two characters that I truly do like in Persona 5's cast. It's pretty difficult to talk about this kind of stuff without spoiling it, so I'll probably save that for another video. Also, Atlus has this funky spoiler policy, so I can't actually talk about stuff, I guess. I mean, I don't know how hard they're going on that, but I'll respect their wishes since they're not too ridiculous this time. But hats off to the writing team, because I did actually enjoy this story. And also, Atlus really knows how to make you hate a character, just purely by what they say. I feel like every tyrant in this game is so easily hateable because they're spewing their useless rhetoric, and it's really frustrating to listen to. And it's probably a mix of the voice acting and directing as well. But yeah, they really do make these tyrants completely unlikable. In the end though, Tactica did something that did make me happy, even if it is quite small. But I guess that also counts as spoilers, so I'll save it for another video.
Uh-huh. Marie's definitely getting hitched to... Wait, what the hell? When did that happen?
Now as for the OST, Tactica does a phenomenal job as usual. At this point, I feel like it's kind of a given that Persona means good music, but Tactica does continue this trend of good song after good song, not to mention the fact that each kingdom has its own set of battle themes as well. I didn't expect to like so many different tracks from this game, but I'm very open to the fact that it did exceed my expectations.
Well, in that case...
So as far as Persona 5 spin-offs go, Tactica gets a thumbs up from me. It tells a great story with fun and interesting characters. The twists are pretty predictable, and the gameplay can leave something to be desired if you're looking for a challenge. But I think if you're looking for more Persona 5, then Tactica does that perfectly fine. And what are your thoughts on Persona 5 Tactica? Did you like it? Have you completed it? Are you not playing it? Not feeling it maybe? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Atlus, Persona, and JRPG related. I didn't touch on it here, but I will be reviewing the Repaint Your Heart DLC in a separate video, so you can stay tuned for that, I guess. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.